Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am so excited that you're here. My name is Janice Dolnick. We are going to discuss, is legal nurse consulting a career for you? My intention is not to sell you on anything. My intention is to teach you everything that I've learned in the last 13 years of owning my own business and give you the opportunity to make an educated decision for yourself whether or not you want to take your RN career to the next level. And I know a lot of nurses are just burnout and exhausted right now, and everyone's grabbing for something. But what I hate the most is when someone joins a program and it really isn't for them. So I really want you to think about it and ensure that this is something you would want to do. So we'll go through a lot of misconceptions and try to break everything down so that you can make a choice that's right for you and your family. And it most certainly is not a career for everyone, but for those of us who are doing it, we are having success, we are having a lot of fun. And it's really great when we're able to pull other awesome nurses into our community. And so I'm just so excited to go over all of this. So I'm actually going to share my screen with you so that I stay on task. This is the Legal Nurses for Justice Certificate Program. And you're all here, like I said, because you're searching for something else, right? Something else in your nursing career that's just like, I'm ready to leave the bedside. I'm ready to own my life. I'm ready to not spend another holiday away from my family or away from my friends. And this is the door that really changed my life. It was something that I started 13 years ago. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Janice Dolnick, and I started this company 13 years ago after a travel assignment while in Chicago. And when I was on that travel assignment, I was actually really unhappy with what I was seeing in how nurses were being treated and how patients were also being treated. I saw it from both sides. And I thought, is there a way to make this better? And I thought about going to law school, except that I'm really awful at arguing. And I'm kind of the person that has to like sleep on it. And then I wake up and go, oh, I should have said that, right? So I knew law school was out for me completely. And so I started searching for legal nurses, law nurses, trying to find if there was a career in law for registered nurses, because it made sense to me that lawyers working on a case where someone was injured in the hospital, or maybe there's a car accident, a slip and fall at work, a criminal case. That was one of the first fields that I actually went into, was criminal. And so say someone gets hit at a bar over the head and your criminal attorney is trying to defend the person who knocked the person out, right? Why did they do that? Did they have medication in their system? I had one case where a guy actually was in kidney failure and went out and was like hitting people over the head in a bar. So there's so many different ways you can work legal nurse consulting into your life. And for me, it was like the choice. I was like, this is something I really want to do. Is there a way to help nurses have a better environment by supporting them as like an expert witness if they were to get accused of something, right? And how can I also help patients out to ensure that patients were receiving the best care and follow-up care? And so I really was into law. I thought it was really cool. And I was lucky in 2009, I found a program. I went through the program and I was ignorance on fire. I was so excited. I didn't understand really what I was doing. I didn't get a lot of marketing help. There were no mentors at that time. There was no Facebook, no Instagram, nobody I could reach out to ask for help. And so I went out and I went door to door. I landed one attorney client. I thought I knew it all. And this is where a lot of LNCs that are new go wrong. And this is why we handhold you. I gave him all this information that was helpful, but wasn't helpful to him. It was a really big learning experience for me because I remember being so proud of this report that I created. It was like massive and I knew it was going to help him, right? And giving it back to him and him being disappointed. And I couldn't understand why, because I had spent a whole lot of money on a program. They had shown me how to write reports, but this attorney was disappointed in what I had created. And that immediately, it stopped me in my tracks. I froze. I was so scared to move on and do this as a career. And so I stopped. I stopped for a full 6 months. And during those 6 months, I kept thinking about how much I loved this career and how much I loved law and how much I knew I had a purpose, but I really needed to better understand my attorney client. I really needed to understand the individuals that I was serving as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a legal nurse consultant, if I was going to have success in this career. And this is a lesson most new nurses and new LNCs, not new nurses, but new LNCs miss. And the reason for this is it's not taught in most programs. So I did go back and I decided to really start to get to know my attorney clients and start to ask questions and really get to know them as a person and not as a dollar sign. And I started to see that they were individuals and that they were people just like us that all learn in different ways. And so I did end up going on and building a very successful LNC business. I have multiple nurses that work with me now. I have lawyers all over the country. I have them in Canada and in Australia. But it wasn't first without going through failure, right? We just listened to somebody talk today, Joe Musso, he's an attorney, he was talking to our group on growth mindset. And he said, you learn through failure. And I did, but I came back after I quit, right? I didn't quit forever. I came back because there was something there pulling on me saying, come back, you can do this. It became the best career choice I ever made as a nurse. And we have had a lot of fun. About 7 years ago now, I started my community, Legal Nurses Rock. We were the first Facebook group for legal nurse consultants. We were the first ones on Instagram. We've really just kind of exploded. It's this community of nurses. There's 6,000 nurses. Everyone is amazing and they work hard and they understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. So I want you to ask yourself, am I meant to be an entrepreneur? Is this something I can do? Because working for yourself is incredibly difficult if you're not in the right mindset, and it can be really hard. It is not for everyone. And so I always say only the strong survive. You have to be strong. You've got to have a backbone. You've got to understand that there's going to be highs and lows. And if that's not someone you are, that's okay. And so I just want you to know this is about building a business. And I'll go into all of these questions that we get that are very common and try to help you better decide if this is a specialty you want to pursue. So what is legal nurse consulting? For those of you that are like, I have no idea what legal nurse consulting is. Legal nurse consultants are nurses who work in one of two ways. And there's actually more, but we're going to focus on two. There is the behind the scenes nurse, and that nurse works specifically behind the scenes with a lawyer, with a law firm, with a litigation team to help them build their best case. So an example is our lawyers get a case that comes through the door. The paralegal immediately sends it to us. A majority of them we end up doing merit reviews on to let them know if their case has merit and if they should pursue it. From there, the lawyers then take it back. We tell them the stuff that they're missing, any medical records, any documentation, any standards of care, protocols, policies, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you need this in order to support your theory. A lot of stuff we do there, creating a medical chronology, educating them on what happened, how any prior diagnoses might have been related to what they're feeling after a car accident. Are there any red flags they should know about? If the attorney was to walk into mediation or into trial, is there something in that chart that maybe they would have missed without a nurse because most of them don't understand all the medical terminology, and that you could help and save them ahead of time, right? And we support them all the way through trial or settlement. So it's really, really awesome. And then there's the expert witness part. And I functioned as an expert witness for a good portion of my career as an LNC. Expert witnesses, and for those of you who have followed the Redonda Vaught case, you saw an example of some expert witnesses. And I'm just gonna say that not all expert witnesses are created equal. Expert witness is someone who has an expertise in a field, and it's typically for a number of years. They typically say 10 years for an expert witness, to be an expert witness, to be able to opine on something. It's typically 10 years, but it's not really set in stone. Sometimes if you're a specialty nurse you've only been practicing for 2 years and you're the only specialty nurse they can find, the judge would admit you. So there is no hard set rule. And sometimes there's a lot of misconception out there, especially in forums, Google, that you have to be a nurse for 10 years to work as an expert witness. It's not always true. So the expert witness will give their opinion. That's what opine means. They will give their opinion on what happened in that case, and they will go and they will testify in court. Moving on to what can I expect to make as a legal nurse consultant and how do I get paid? What we typically see is about $110 to $175 per hour for behind the scenes nurses. So those nurses that are working up the case behind the scenes, their work is not discoverable, it's privileged, the lawyer gets to keep it, he doesn't have to turn it over. About $110 to $175, depends on the firm. Expert witness work, totally different world, right? Most of the time we see anywhere up to $300 for a registered nurse per hour. And I've seen as much as $425, $450 for a nurse practitioner who's willing to do expert witness work. There's a lot of value in what you're charging, and understanding what you bring to the table and understanding the value that you bring is really, really important, and being comfortable with charging that much, right? I always say lawyers charge hundreds of dollars an hour and you're a team. So that's something that we try to help our nurses get over. Like, you are absolutely worth what you're charging. And the amount of value these lawyers get, and they get bigger settlements or they get bigger payouts because they have a nurse who's able to help better explain what happened, put it into a way that makes sense. Another question that we get often is, hey, I live in a small town. Can I have success, or do I have to live in a big city? This is a big misconception that you have to live in a big city to have success. I've really thought of just like moving to an island and just working from an island, because guys, social media, it's crazy what social media, what Zoom, what we have and how many people we can impact, right? And so you can do the same thing here. So like I said, I have clients all over the country. So long as you have a phone, email, you can do this business. You do not have to live in a big city. Anywhere you live, you can do this, so long as you have good internet. How do I find work as a legal nurse consultant? This is one of the biggest questions, and I think biggest concerns of nurses is like, hey, this is exciting. I want to do this. This sounds like a career I could totally dive into, but how do I get clients, right? Well, that's a great question. Because you are an entrepreneur, you actually have to market yourself. And what I know about nurses is we don't like to market. We're not very good at it, right? So it is a skill that we have to learn. And I've taken lots and lots of courses on marketing and social media. And inside of my program, I actually teach you all of those secrets. And I walk you through every process, if you can copy paste, you can market, okay? I tell you exactly what to do, how to do it, and down to when to do it. So when we're looking for attorneys, we'll teach you how to do that. We'll teach you how to make those phone calls, how to do those emails, how to get out and network. Sometimes you have to drive. I've driven to legal events that were out. In fact, I'm going to another one in Vegas. That's 4 hours away. I'm going to one in Idaho, which is hours away, right? Sometimes you have to do things to build your business. So even if you live in a small community and you want to go out, you can go out and meet people, right? So you can do it anywhere. Most of my career has been online. And what's great about it is the lawyers that don't leave tell all their friends. So that leaves marketing expense really low. I rarely spend any money marketing my legal nurse consulting business. Another question we get is, I don't see any jobs on Indeed. And this is a big thing. So when you're going and you're looking up legal nurse consulting, you're looking up programs, you decide you're going to hop onto Indeed and look up jobs, right? 2 reasons there aren't a lot of jobs for legal nurse consultants on Indeed. The first big one is most attorneys still do not know who we are or how we help. So if they don't know who we are or how we help, they're not asking for us, right? It's a big portion of attorneys that still have no idea who or what LNCs are. As an entrepreneur, it's our job to go out and make those connections and build, right? Very similar to a real estate agent. You have to go out, you have to say, hey, I'm selling houses, or hey, I've got this really great work product. I can help speed up. I can help you get through these cases quicker. I can help you save money. I can help you get bigger settlements. So although there aren't jobs posted, again, the biggest thing we do as LNCs is educate attorneys on why a nurse on their team is incredibly invaluable. And let me tell you, it's incredibly rewarding to know that you created something so big out of nothing. And you created something out of nothing because you were brave enough to go out and make it happen. How am I going to get work as a legal nurse consultant if I have never done a case before? So this is a common question. It's like, how do I get work? I've never done a case. I've taken a program. Now, you guys, the best way that you can get ahead of your competition and the best way to stand out is by having, not just saying what you do, but showing what you do, right? And that's what we teach our nurses to do. So when you go through our program, we actually handhold you through 3 real-life cases. And that's really important. So you actually get to open medical records, you get to organize them, we have videos, we train you on it. We do 2 live Zooms every single week so that you can hop on and ask your questions as you're building your reports, show you how to do the fact summaries. We teach you how to understand your client so that you're not just creating a templated work product. That's the worst thing an LNC can do, and which is why I always tell nurses, don't go buy a template book online, because if you're not filling it out correctly and in a way that lawyer understands, you're doing your lawyers a total disservice. I work for a large hospital system in my state. Look at this too, Kaiser here in California. Is it a conflict of interest to take a case from that hospital system? And if so, how do I get work, right? Hey, we got Kaisers all over. I work at Kaiser. If I take a case, is it a conflict? Yes, you don't want to take a case from somebody you work for. That's a conflict. However, there are, again, there's a lot of other hospitals besides, one hospital system that you can work for. And you could never do a med mal case at all and only focus on PI. A big part of our practice now is all personal injury. So it doesn't matter. Does that make sense? I know that tends to be a fear for a lot of people, and it doesn't need to be, okay? There's, like I said earlier, there's so many different ways you can practice. If I decide that this is the next step for me, do I have to quit my job in order to get started? No, I don't know any of us that are like wealthy. We're nurses, we're all broke, right? No, you do not have to quit your job to do this. I did not quit my job to do this. I waited 6 years before I completely gave up, even per diem. So I don't always recommend it, especially if you're the breadwinner of the family, right? And you have bills to pay. So we tend to see kind of that transition, like full-time down to part-time, and then per diem, and then you have enough work to sustain. So there are some people that do. They're like, I'm all in. If I continue to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I will not make this work. So some people need to just jump right in because they have the time to focus and work on their business. So they tend to do really well when they do that. So there is a lot of ways to earn an income, but that you have to be comfortable. It has to be comfortable for you. Some people can do it, some cannot. And that's a decision you have to make on your own. Do I have to testify in court? This is a big one. Nurses are nervous. I'd say probably 90% of nurses want to only work behind the scenes and they do not want to testify, right? So most of you will want to just work behind the scenes. The rest, it's a really small percentage, 10% want to testify in court. You absolutely do not have to. Like I said earlier, when you work with the lawyer as part of the litigation team, your work is privileged. It's as if you were their paralegal, as if you were another attorney. They can't give away your work product. So you get to help them. And what's nice about working behind the scenes, and what a lot of lawyers don't understand, is you can be very candid with them. As an expert, I feel that we are not able to be very candid all the time. Like, hey, it's helpful because you can do more for them, if you will. So no, you do not have to testify if you're nervous about it. And what if I don't want to start my own business? That's okay. You guys, there are so many opportunities for subs. In fact, every week I probably throw out a need, maybe more than one, and I cannot find nurses to help. We need more nurses that don't want to be the boss, that want to be the CEO. Those of us that are having success doing this need help. So if you're just like, hey, I want to do this, you can just be a sub. You still need to learn how to write reports. I'll still get nurses that say, well, I don't want to go through a program because I just want to be a sub. Well, you still need to know how to write reports. You also, if you're working as a sub, have to have a business. You have to figure out how to set up all of that up. So still going through a training program is very important, even if you just want to be a sub and you want to work for someone else. And also, you learn all the basic foundational things that you need to know in order to function as an LNC. So you learn some legal terminology, you learn what your role is, how you help lawyers, anything and everything dealing with the basic foundation of what a legal nurse consultant is and how they help. And that's really, really important. There is a lot behind what we do and the reason we do it. Some other ways that we're different. I think we have the best hands down community of legal nurse consultants out there, period. I have been a part of a lot of different places and groups, and it can get catty. There are some miserable people. There's some LNCs that answer back incredibly snooty to brand new LNCs, talking to lawyers because lawyers are what? Scary, right? Well, they're not. They're really not. Like 1% of them are pretty scary, but in person and networking events and they loosen their tie, they're pretty cool. So we want to give our nurses the opportunity to have those conversations, see that they're normal people, see that they are, this isn't such a scary thing. And we try to bring all of those situations that I know nurses will struggle with. I try to bring it to you first with me so you can experience with me before you go out there into the real world and you're by yourself and you're like, this is terrifying. So now is the time to get started. And if you're like, hey, let's go, let's do it.
We're here. We're excited.
Bye, guys.